NASA is working on something that has never been done before. A permanent base on the moon. Not for days, not for weeks, but long term. The problem is, everything up there is deadly. No air, extreme temperatures, no help. And yet, they are preparing to do exactly that. But this time, it is about more than just science. Because NASA is not the only one with this goal. And the closer you look, the clearer it becomes. This is not just about the moon. It is about who stays there. NASA has already been to the moon, and then they left. No base, no plan to stay. For many, that was the end of the story. The goal was reached. The mission was complete. But that was the mistake. Because while the mission stopped, technology did not. New materials, new propulsion systems, new possibilities. And suddenly, something changed. What used to be impossible started to look realistic. That is changing now. With the Artemis program, they want to go back, this time to stay. The reason is simple. There is ice at the moon's south pole. And ice means water, oxygen, fuel. For the first time, staying there actually makes sense, because the moon is no longer just a destination. It is a location. And this is where the real race begins. NASA is not alone. Others are working on similar plans, and they are moving fast. This is where the pressure builds, because whoever stays first sets the rules. You do not just build a base on the moon. Everything has to come from Earth. Every part, every mistake matters. The biggest problem is transport. That is why NASA is using a modular system, small elements, step by step. First, everything is launched into space with the Space Launch System, then into lunar orbit. After that, landers bring people and cargo down to the surface. Every landing is a risk. The ground is uneven. Dust gets thrown into the air. Visibility drops. One small mistake during landing and the mission is over. That is why everything is tested in advance. Simulations, again and again. Because on the moon, there is no second attempt. And this is where it becomes clear how precise everything needs to be. Because once you land, the real challenge begins. On the moon, everything becomes extreme. Minus 170 to plus 120 degrees. Radiation, dust that gets into everything. this is where the real difficulty begins. Normal materials fail instantly. That is why NASA is developing new solutions. Strong, lightweight, adaptable. Some of it is even built on the moon itself, using lunar dust. This reduces weight and makes the base more realistic. But the biggest problem is still not solved. Because without energy, nothing works. And this is where everything depends on success or failure. Humans will not build this base first. Machines will. New rovers go ahead. They move materials, prepare the ground, and build the first structures before humans even arrive. But this only works if everything can be seen. That is why cameras are everywhere, on every module, on every rover. NASA tracks every movement, almost in real time. But there is a delay, seconds between Earth and the moon, enough to cause problems. Which means these machines have to make decisions on their own. They analyze their surroundings, detect obstacles, make decisions in seconds, without asking, without direct control. Machines working on another world, alone. And if something goes wrong, it has to be fixed up there. Not on Earth, on the moon. And this is where it becomes critical, because a small mistake does not stay small. It stops everything. That is why new materials are used. Lightweight, extremely strong. Built to handle radiation, dust, and temperature. Some of it is created directly on the moon, from lunar dust. And this is where the entire approach changes. The base is not just built, it grows. The first base is only the beginning. Because once it exists, everything changes instantly. Supply, infrastructure, presence. Whoever stays has the advantage. And this is where it becomes strategic. Because the moon is not just a place, it is a gateway. For missions deeper into space, to Mars and beyond. Whoever builds infrastructure here saves time, saves money, and gains control. But NASA is not alone. Others are planning similar bases. China, Russia, different programs, different goals. Right now, nothing is there yet. But everything is prepared. The next missions are already planned, step by step. First short stays, then longer ones. Then permanent presence. In clearly defined phases. And once this begins, it accelerates, because every mission builds on the last. Every structure makes the next one easier. And every success increases the pressure. And this is where it becomes irreversible. Because once the first infrastructure is in place, it will be expanded, upgraded, secured. And from that point on, there is no going back. And this is where the real race begins. Because this time, it is not about flags. It is about permanent presence, access to resources, and influence. The moon is no longer the goal. It is the beginning. And whoever stays there decides what happens next. Cooperation works on Earth. On the ISS, countries work together, despite conflicts, despite competition. But on the moon, it will be different. Because this time, it is not just about science. It is about resources, about position, about control. And that is what changes everything. Because for the first time, it is not just about building something together. It is about who stays first and who decides what happens next. But in the end, one question remains. Will the moon become a place of cooperation or the next major conflict?